Well, hey, it's Lynn Brown, and welcome to episode 130 of the Gritty Women Global podcast. This one really caught my attention. I might be a recovering busybody. Anybody else out there? Well, y'all hang in here with me today. As I said, I'm Lynn Brown, and I'm a results coach. That has not always been the case. However, before I lunged into the depths of this whole personal growth journey, I was a world-class people pleaser. And then in my spare time, I was literally trapped by the opinions of other people. And I am not just kidding you. And then one day I drew a line in the sand. I decided to bet on me for the first time ever. It was that day, I remember it just like yesterday, November 5th, 2013, that things began to change for me. Now, it wasn't overnight because change just doesn't come that easy. It takes work, daily, consistent work. But that day, I changed the way I looked at things. And when I did, the things that I looked at began to change. I can't tell you how many times that I have heard this response lately, so much that I wanted to dedicate this podcast to the space today. You know when you just say, well, how are you doing today? Y'all, everybody is saying, oh, I'm so busy. And if they don't say, oh, I'm so busy, they're like tired, stressed. Oh, I need a break. I wish I could escape. All these things, I'm hearing them in so many different circles. And y'all, it's not okay. This is not okay. This obsession with outdoing and out busying our friends and our coworkers is just twisted. It's sideways. I don't believe, and this is just my humble opinion, but I just don't believe that that's what we were created for. I don't think it's what God had in mind. Heck, I mean, He made it very clear. He created all this, everything that we see, in 6 days. He created the world in 6 days. I mean, it was done. And then his very next step, commandment, directive, whatever you want to say, was to rest. He wanted us to rest. And let's not get just hung up on Sabbath and just saying that our rest is only supposed to be on, the Sabbath, which, we, for the most part, we think Sabbath meaning Sunday, but I believe that we're supposed to have rest built into our daily lives. Notice He didn't say He wanted us to paint all the animal cabins and barns and cubbies, and He didn't want us to decorate everything. He didn't want us to name them all. He said rest. Now, I'm going to be very transparent with all of you because I'm honest, and that's just how I am. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. This just happened today. So this is just hot off the press. I was going to sit in the sun for my 15 minutes. I really am intentional about getting 15 minutes of bright sunshine every day for the vitamin D part. So the first thing I did was I set my timer. And of course I have my phone right beside me, right? Because I have created that habit, which, you know what? I'm working on that one too. But I sat in the chair, and in less than 60 seconds, I do not lie to you, in less than 60 seconds, I had turned on my digital copy of a book that I'm listening to on rest. Now, how's that? I mean, there was just something just pulling me to do that. Somehow sitting in just the quietness of the sunshine, beginning to hear, the birds chirping, the breeze was blowing. It was just, somehow that was just too hard for me today. It was just too quiet. Now, y'all, I am not talking about taking a week-long solitude retreat that doesn't allow talking. I'm talking about 15 minutes. 15 minutes. As the chapter ended on the in the book, I picked up my phone to see how much time I had left. I had 2 minutes and 36 seconds left. I realized right then that I had left my water inside, so I jumped up to go inside to get my water, and then my phone rang, and then the puppy knocked over the water. The kittens ran inside. The boiler on the stove was scorched with no water left in it. I wonder if that was a little subtle nudge from above. But I turned the stove off. I might have said something not so nice at that point, but anyway, the point is this. Can y'all relate to me? Can anybody relate to me, or am I the only one on the earth running like this? But just hang in here with me for a second. Because I want us to kind of lean into a few scenarios while you're listening. And I hope you're not doing 47 things at one time. But I just want to see if you can possibly relate to any of these things anyway. Have you found yourself to be restless lately? Perhaps you're waking up in the middle of the night. Maybe you're working a few extra hours to try to catch up. Which, to me, that's almost impossible. I mean, what does that even mean? I know people that won't even take off a day of work because they don't want to. They anticipate how much further behind they'll be when they come back to work. But really, I think we can even change our perspective there and just look at it as where we are and pick up where you left off. But that's a whole nother podcast. What about difficulty focusing? Even with these two scenarios, if you're experiencing anything like this, it might be time to take an inventory of your schedule. It might be time for you just to slow down and take a deep dive and look at your life. Is your life running you? Or are you running your life? But y'all, we've talked about this before. Nobody's coming to offer you a long break at the beach or the mountains or wherever you want to go. Nobody's going to do it for you. This is a you and you deal. 7 years ago, I began this journey, and obviously, I've just shared this with you, so I don't always get it right. I mean, I literally just blew my 15-minute break, but I will tell you that the systems that I have put and am continuing to put in place have added enormous value to my life. I mean, I'm a nicer human. I'm a nicer wife and mama and honey. I'm a better sister and friend and coach and trainer and speaker. And y'all, I'm actually sleeping for the first time, really sleeping well for the first time in 10 years. So here's something else I want you to think about. What about in the area of taking care of you, as in your body? Now this is kind of tricky because some people say, oh yeah, I get plenty of sleep. I don't have any trouble sleeping. But, so it could be lack of sleep or poor sleep. It could be little or no exercise. It could be staying hydrated. Like hydrated with water, not just totally Pinot Grigio. But nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm just saying we do need to drink our water. I've just had something in our family recently with somebody that was not drinking enough water. I won't call any names, but they got dehydrated. If life has just gotten so busy that you can't even take care of you, I have friends that say, I just don't have time to work out. Then you might want to just get out your mental yellow highlighter right here or put a red flag beside this in your brain so you can come back to this and revisit it. And no, binging on the latest series that somebody told you about at work, at the water cooler, or wherever you, at Target or wherever, that's not rest. That might possibly be robbing some time from you, but we're not going to that right now either. Now, I'm just not at the command of time today for us to cover all of these red flag moments. But I promise you, over the next few weeks, we are definitely going to be doing that. But, I've just really been leaning into this over the summer. Living in constant chaos was, I think you would agree with me. It's not God's plan. He is a God of order, and rest was so important to him. I mean, it's literally one of the first commandments that he gave to us. So where do we go from here? How do we get to where we want to go from where we are? Here's a question for you to just ponder. You don't have to answer it right now. Just maybe write it down, or just think about it later. What do you need to stop doing in order to start doing the things you were called to do? What do you need to stop doing? What area of your life are you pushing so hard for? Would you be willing to back away from the building, so to speak? Just for a minute. Not for the rest of your life. I'm not saying that, but maybe for a season. Could you back away from something? And if you can't even imagine doing it, for a season, could you do it for a few days? Could you just take some time to just quiet the inner critics, the inner voices, just the noise, and listen in. Y'all, constant activity to me leads to captivity. I mean, honestly, I used to spend my life trying to fix everybody else and change every circumstance. It didn't matter what it was. You could just throw out a topic and I would somehow think that it was mine to fix. I can get strung out on 10 years ago why the cheerleaders didn't make signs like I did when I was in high school. And I could talk about that for 3 hours. It has nothing to do with what I'm called to do. But I thought my job was to fix everybody. I lived in constant chaos, constant busyness, constant activity. Until I took a very fast ride in the back of an ambulance. I don't recommend that for anybody. And I'm not trying to point fingers here, and I'm not trying to be your mama or anything else. I'm just your gritty sister. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this stuff, y'all. But you got to take care of yourself. Self-care is not selfish. Honestly, I was raised in the South, and we were kind of influenced to believe that doing those kinds of things for yourself was, in a way, a little selfish. And honestly, it's really not. Carving out quiet time to just sit in the stillness of who you are with your Creator, it's not selfish. Taking a long walk and exercising, going to the gym to work out is not selfish. Having quiet time away from the hustle and bustle of your job and your family is not selfish. It's not being a bad parent. It's not being a bad spouse. It's not being a bad anything. Not going to every single birthday party, every single anniversary celebration, every single, event, whether it's at church, at work, or your best friend, or a club or organization you're involved in. Going to every single thing is not going to end the world if you don't go to every single thing. I nowhere in the Bible, nowhere did our Creator say that to stress yourself, push yourself, go over the edge, serve on every committee, blah, blah, blah. He didn't say that. In fact, it's really the opposite. It's the opposite of the truth. But the great news is, we've talked about this before, what we are aware of, we can fix. And maybe you're not aware of it right now. Maybe you haven't really thought about this. You hadn't slowed down enough to think about it until this very day. Today, on August the 12th of 2022. All of a sudden we look up and summer's gone and school has started and we're thinking, in March I was going to so-and-so and so-and-so. So maybe today, the next few days over the weekend, will be a great time for you to slow down. And finding this space and this place of peace and rest in your life, you're going to discover that you're doing some things just because you've always done those things. And as we lean into the power of rest, we're going to learn to let go of some of those things that are not serving us anymore. And yes, letting go means learning to say no. And that was a toughie for me. Do you hear me? But it's so easy peasy now. I'm telling you, it gets easier all the time. It truly does. And I've got some little tricks and tips on how to do that. If you need it, you can get in touch with me. I love Matthew 6, chapter 6, 25 through 34. I mean, it's so familiar. We hear it all the time. But, knowing the message and practicing the method of the message is two different things. I know people that know all the Bible verses frontwards and backwards. They can tell you where anything is. And I don't right offhand know where Leviticus is. Well, it's by numbers, but there's some that have a harder time finding than that. But my point is this, is that we can hear something, but adapting it to our life is two different things. But he said, come to me when you're tired and I will give you rest. I mean, that is the way to renewal and refreshment. And it's the way to begin to live in the present moment, to be present. And you know what? You can start today. So, me saying all that I've said in this podcast as we shared together, I'm going to go back outside and I'm going to do a redo. I'm going to reframe my 15 minutes of sunshine. And this time, I'm going to leave my phone inside. Y'all, there's so many exciting things ahead. We've already scheduled, have it in the books, our next gritty getaway. We had 2 of the most amazing getaways this summer at the beach, and we're going to be going into a more cabin-y type atmosphere for our next getaway. It's scheduled for November 3rd through the 7th, so save that date. It's a very uncommon conference, and I promise you, you want to be there. Remember, gritty is the new courageous. I love y'all. See you soon. Bye-bye.